Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Utility Sports. Today, we'll be covering Anthony Davis's contract options right now. Obviously, there's been some reports that he is going to consider length, term, all that kind of structure on his contract. Obviously, I'm going to assume he's going to have a no trade clause in pretty much every offer he gets from the Los Angeles Lakers, something that's pretty common for most stars. But before we jump into it, make sure to leave a like on the video here. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date and to not miss out on any of our coverage for the NBA or NFL if you're interested in those. And to hit that notification bell because it means a lot to have you guys in our comments here, whether or not you're the first one or later. So we'd love to hear from you guys. We respond to most of our comments. So that's something we're really interested in seeing. All right, jumping forward here. Now, the first option really for his contract negotiations would be a 1 year plus one type of deal. So a 2-year contract in length with the player option for the second season. And that would be worth about $68 million at $34 million a year. Obviously something really worth monitoring. $34 million is quite a bit for a short-term deal. And there's a couple of pros with that. It gives flexibility to the Lakers, first of all, in terms of salary cap space. And I'll explain that in a second here, but it also goes into some flexibility for Anthony Davis. Obviously, LeBron does have a player option after this following season. So looking at LeBron, perhaps he could be looking to leave. I don't think so at this point, but you never know. So Anthony Davis having that option as well could be something he values to get an open market again in 2021 when there's going to be more cap space out in the marketplace. Definitely something to monitor there. And the other part of that is the fact that LeBron and Anthony Davis, they're under this direction, would both have would both have player options. They could both opt out, opening up a huge amount of cap space, allowing the Lakers to outright sign a third star, Giannis, for example. And then at this point, then they could be used on bird rights to come back in a long-term extension. So the important thing there is really you open up that salary cap space to bring in other players. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a star either. It could be 2 or 3 really quality players to kind of round out the rest of the rotation. And still be able to bring LeBron and AD back as long as you're under that hard cap space, which is something that'll be a little difficult for the Lakers, especially with Kuzma there, who's probably looking for an extension in the near future. And jumping into the cons of this deal for Anthony Davis's perspective, there's not really any. This is a guy who's going to be a top 5 MVP candidate year in, year out, most likely, Defensive Player of the Year candidate. And the cons of taking a shorter term deal like this really aren't there because we just saw Kevin Durant get a full max with the Brooklyn Nets after tearing his Achilles. Obviously one of the most severe injuries, and yet GMs around the league were lining up to give him a max, and he's 31, 32 years old. Anthony Davis is still about 26 years old. So, long-term, Anthony Davis is going to get max offers regardless of what happens to his health, as long as he's, somewhat healthy and, 5 years down the road, say he doesn't have like 3 super catastrophic injuries. But at this point, he's going to be able to take short-term deals and kind of bet on himself. And the other thing about this is, as we move into the next one, 2 years plus one, so a 3-year team deal, basically with the 3rd year being an option, and this would be worth $106 million. So you're already seeing a little bit of an escalation, going from $34 million a year to closer to about 37, 38, I believe. And the reasoning for this is that 3rd year, Anthony Davis is able to make 35% of the salary cap as a 10-year pro in the NBA. Something that's really worth, monitoring there is at this point, he's completed 8 seasons. So 2 years from now, after season 9 and 10 for him, he is eligible for that NBA veteran supermax, which comes at 35% of the cap with an 8% growth rate every year. So you're looking at massive, massive money compared to what he could ink a long-term deal right now, especially in those first 2 years of a brand new big deal. And that would be something AD would look at considering because signing this 2-year deal would get him to about 28 years old. And then he could lock into a 5-year deal, get him to 33, and he's probably looking at one more big contract after that. So that's something really worth monitoring. And again, here's some pros for this. There's flexibility for Anthony Davis. He could leave the Lakers after year 2. That's when LeBron's initial deal would expire if LeBron opts into his player option, which is definitely possible still. And also, this could create salary cap space in 2022. It's a little bit weaker of a class, but what's going to happen is in 2021, a lot of teams are going to probably commit a lot of money. So if Anthony Davis wants to opt out, he could give the Lakers some flexibility. That's what he's already doing this year when he's, considering his options. The Lakers have been able to go out and get Montrezl Harrell. They're in talks with Marcus Saul right now. And they also went out and acquired Schroeder using cap space in a trade with Danny Green. Obviously, they had to take in a little bit more money, but they were able to do so with Anthony Davis not officially on the books yet. So that salary cap space in 2022 could be a pretty open marketplace, and the Lakers would be the lead dog in that immediately. And right here, like I said, the 8-year pro plus 2 years makes him that 10-year veteran, allowing him for the 35% supermax, which is obviously on his end something he's going to really, really consider. And going into really what the third and final option is for Anthony Davis, we're looking at the 5-year, $189 million supermax that he's eligible for right now, finishing top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year, top 5 in MVP votes, allows him to get $37.8 million a year right now. And that money would escalate right now. This first year would be like $34 million, I believe, and the second year would be $34 million. But then you're looking at those years 3 through 5 being closer to that 40 million mark, which is why we average it out here at 38 million a year. And, you know, looking at it, the nice thing for him is you've got that long-term security for sure, in case, you know, some really, really catastrophic injury does happen, that teams would be scared off. I don't really think that's what the case would be, but you're looking at that really being the positive point of that for him is, okay, I know I'm getting $189 million in the bag, and I've locked into that. And it also, you know, takes off some pressure of the Lakers to really, you know, ask for a long-term commitment, because then they know they've got him, they got rights to him. And this is probably going to be a 4-year plus one, kind of something we see very often. You know, all the star players get a player option, so that's really not surprising. And then looking in at the other options for him, the only negative to this really is that he is locked in actually as well. That's, as a star player, you want to keep your options open as much as you can. Obviously, he just got to Los Angeles. I'm sure he likes it there. He won a championship. But we don't really know what that looks like 4 years from now. You know, maybe LeBron retires or, you know, decides to go play for a different team with his son, Bronny, if Bronny gets into the league like we're all expecting. And that's something that, you know, maybe Anthony Davis doesn't want to be the only star in LA. And maybe LA has a little bit of a dry spell, kind of like they did with Kobe Bryant in 2004, 2005, post-Shaq. And obviously, that whole situation led up to a Kobe Bryant trade request that obviously did not get granted. Thankfully, as iconic as Kobe is in a Lakers uniform, we could maybe be seeing AD in a similar situation. He's obviously a guy in the West who's struggled to win on the New Orleans Pelicans, even despite having Drew Holiday, DeMarcus Cousins for a little bit, and some other nice players. So I think there'd be a lot of pressure on him to really perform still in LA, and without LeBron, that could be something that he doesn't quite get done. So there'd be, you know, obviously some rumblings there on him wanting out if he locked into something like this, if LeBron does go and leave. But at the same time, a positive of this too is him being committed makes LeBron a lot more likely to commit to, knowing that down the back end of what LeBron's career is, as great as he still is, he's still going to be vying for championships and honestly a favorite in a lot of ways. I think the Lakers this year are going to be the favorite, and I think for the next few years, they're going to be viewed as one of the top 3 teams when it comes to really what the picture looks like. So for me, what I think he should or will do, honestly, I think that he should do the 2 years plus one option. Obviously gets $106 million in this, would be 68 through the first 2 years. And I think he'll opt out after that second year and then really look to negotiate a 5-year extension with the Lakers at that point, depending on kind of what the picture with LeBron looks like. Obviously, the roster 2 years from now is going to look a little bit different. They don't have Schroeder necessarily long-term. They don't have Trez long-term as he has a player option. So they're going to have a lot of flexibility this way. And the 2 years plus one makes a lot of sense to me, both for the team side. You know, they get at least a 2-year commitment for sure, possibly 3 if he opts in, which I don't think he would. And for Anthony Davis, you're looking at a guy who's going to be able to keep his long-term flexibility open. He's going to set himself up for that 10-year super max, basically, which is worth 35% of the salary cap, which as the league goes, the cap grows as well, which is part of the reason I'm waiting to do so. And the other nice thing about that for him is he gets that flexibility to switch teams if he feels like he wants to, and that's something really worth monitoring. At this point, I just want to remind you guys to like and subscribe if you are new to utility sports content. We really appreciate you guys tuning into our videos. We've grown quite a bit recently, and we want to continue to do so we can help bring out the best content for you guys. Let us know down in the comments below what you think Anthony Davis will do or what you think he should do. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you in the next video.